Hello students, hope you all are fine. Me, have you ever heard something so funny that you literally died laughing? I'm sure you have not. As a figures of speech maybe, but you did not literally die. Here, I'm talking about the difference between literal and figurative language. So today, let's learn about this figurative language, which is figures of speech. First of all, let's look at its definition. What is figures of speech? The very first line of this definition says, a figures of speech is figurative language, means a word or phrase that possesses a separate meaning from its literal definition. To understand this, you'll have to first understand the difference between literal and figurative language. Let me explain this through the phrase to rack one's brain. Rack means to cause extreme pain or distress to someone. So, to rack one's brain in literal sense would look somewhat like this and would suggest that a person is actually tearing his brain apart or is shredding it into pieces. But as we know, this is almost impossible in real life. But what to do? This is the literal meaning of this particular phrase. In contrast to the literal meaning, the figurative meaning of a phrase is the meaning implied by the phrase. And in this case, it is to strain your brains and to make a great effort to think or remember something. So, can you notice the difference between literal and figurative? An example sentence for the phrase is, he racked his brain so that he could get some original ideas for his new book. Let's make it a little simple by taking one more example. Put all your eggs in one basket. Here in this picture to your left, you can see a basket full of eggs. That is the literal meaning. Whereas to your right side, you can see one picture which shows the risk and its intensity low, medium or high. You must be thinking what it is. What's the comparison? Let me give you an example. One boy named John has invested his whole investment and attention to one project. Now imagine what will happen if he loses this project. He will lose everything. Whatever money, time, energy he has invested in one project, he will lose everything. Means he failed to spread his risks. So when one particular person invests everything in one project, means putting all your eggs in one basket. Now can you identify the difference between literal and figurative? Literal is what it is, what you can see. Figurative is the hidden meaning. Example sentence would be, knowing that our business can go in loss once again, why are you putting all your eggs in one basket instead of shutting business and starting a new one? You see, writers use figurative language very often because it allows them to express themselves well. So students, I hope you understood now the difference between literal and figurative. Let's go back to our definition again. The second sentence of this definition says that figures of speech is a language which is used to draw a picture mentally to convey a message or idea much quicker, effective and vividly. Means figures of speech add color and interest in our speech and awaken our imagination and thus it causes a moment of excitement when used. They paint a clear picture in the reader or listener's minds. And as we know, a picture is equivalent to 1,000 words. So, the figurative language helps us understand the message better than words alone. Let me give you one more example. When your mother gives you your food, do you like it tasty or bland? Obviously, we would love it to be tasty, the best. Yummylicious, right? And how does it happen? We add several spices and salt to our food so that it tastes better. Same way, figures of speech provide emphasis, freshness and clarity to our expressions. So, it becomes interesting. Now, there are hundreds of figures of speech in English, but some of them are more commonly used than the others. And in this video, we will cover the top 8 of this. And they are simile, metaphor, personification, climax, pun, interrogation, alliteration, and last but not the least, repetition. Now let's cover these 8 figures of speech in detail. The very first is simile. In a simile, a comparison is made between two objects of different kinds which have, however, at least one point in common, which means we have to make comparison between two things, where you say that one thing is like another thing, but they are of a different kind and yet are alike in some significant way. Let me give you one example. Kid's backpack was as heavy as a bag full of rocks. So you can see I've underlined two words, backpack and as an bag full of rocks. So when I say the kid's backpack was as heavy as a bag full of rocks, here we are comparing two different things, backpack and bag full of rocks, using a word as, and the common thing between both of them is the heavy, which indicates the weight. Can you see? Comparing two objects of different kinds but have one thing in common. So backpack is our one thing, bag full of rocks is our second thing, and one thing which is common between both of them is the weight. So we are using simile, the word as, to compare both of them. So what we need to remember is that similes are introduced by the words not only as but also like. So these two words, like or as, are used in similes. There are two patterns, common patterns that similes follow. Let's look at the first pattern, which is verb plus like a plus noun. So let's take one example. He eats like a pig. You can see that it goes like verb, which is eat, eating is a verb action, like a plus pig, which is noun, means we are comparing someone's eating habits to that of the pig. The other pattern, pattern 2, which simile follows is as plus adjective plus as plus noun. Let's try to understand the same by example again. For example, the girl's eyes were as black as coal. You can see that in this sentence we are comparing the girl's eyes to coal on the adjective or quality black. Hope students that you are clear with the concept of simile. Let's move to our second figure of speech, which is metaphor. A metaphor is an implied simile. It does not, like the simile, state that one thing is like another or acts like another, but takes that for granted and proceeds as if two things were one. It means a metaphor is a word or phrase for one thing that is used in place of another thing in order to show or suggest that they are similar. Again, let me explain you this through one example. Our soldiers are lion. Here, like simile, we do compare soldiers' bravery with that of lion. So, our one thing is soldiers and the second is lion. And the common thing between both of them is bravery, which is connecting. But here in metaphor, we do not compare it with the word like or as, but we say that object 1 is object 2. Remember students that in metaphor we don't use like and as. We say that object 1 is object 2. Since similes and metaphors both involve comparison of unlike things, one useful tip that will help you tell one from the other is, as I already said, that a simile uses the words like or as, while a metaphor does not. Sometimes the same message can be conveyed using a simile or using a metaphor. Let's take one example. In the battle, he fought bravely like a lion. Here I am using a simile. You can see the word like, and in metaphor we say he was a lion in the battle. Let's go to the third figure of speech, which is personification. In personification, inanimate objects and abstract notions are spoken of as having life and intelligence. This simply means giving human trait or quality like emotions, gestures, speech, etc., which are given to non-living things, objects or ideas. For example, when we say that the leaf danced their way through the lawn, we are representing leaves as a person and talking about in terms of human characteristics like dancing and enjoying. Can you see in the picture, students? The leaves, you can see the image that they are dancing. Now we all know that leaves cannot dance. It's the quality of human, the characteristic of a human. But we have made leaves alive by saying that they are dancing. Similarly, let's have a look at another example. Here we can see that the slices of bread are jumping out of the toaster, suddenly scaring me. Here also, human qualities such as jumping and scaring are given to slices of bread. So, personification is very easy. Next is climax. If you are a movie or book lover, then you will immediately connect it with climax, means the end part of the movie or book. And you're not wrong, because climax means the ending part of the most interesting part, which is the most interesting part. The word climax share its roots with words such as climb, and this originated from the Greek term climax, meaning ladder. Just like a ladder, climax means the intensity of thought or emotion gradually increases in each successive word or phrase. For example, he liked the pen, he loved it, he cherished it. You can see the words liked, loved and cherished in the first example. And in the second example, she dreamt of having a maid, a car and a house. You can see that in both the examples, the order is increasing, order of importance is increasing with each successive words. Liked, loved, cherished, maid, car and a house. Isn't it very easy, students, to remember this? You can keep in mind these diagrams which will help you to remember this figure of speech easily. Let's go to the next figure of speech, which is pun. What is pun? In this figure of speech, one word has two meanings. Meaning, a pun is play on words, or let's say a pun is a humorous way of saying a word or a phrase so that more than one meaning is suggested. Let's look at an example. Why couldn't the bicycle stand on its own? Because it was too tired. Here the pun word is too tired because it has two meanings. One is that the bicycle has two tires and the other means other sounds as it's too tired, which means it is very tired. You might be thinking that how can a bicycle be tired? But just for fun we are using it to create a humorous effect in the sentence, and it also makes sense, a smart humor. So this is pun for you. Let's go to the next figure of speech, which is interrogation. Interrogation is the asking of a question not for the sake of getting an answer, but to point more effectively. It means that they are questions that do not require or expect an answer. They can be used to make the reader think about a point being made in the question. For example, let's say, are we not the finest people in the world? Here you can see it's in the form of question, but it's also a strong affirmation. Maybe we already know that we are finest people, but still we are putting it into the question mark. We do not require here an answer, but we are strongly affirming by questioning this. This interrogation is also known as rhetorical question. Next is alliteration. In this figures of speech, a letter, sound is repeated. It refers to the repetition of consonant sounds, and especially at the beginning of words. Let's look at one example. She sells seashells by the seashore. Here you can see that sound of S is repeated, sir. Sir is repeated in the beginning of each word. Now that's alliteration for you students. Moving on to some fun tongue twisters. I'm sure you must have tried the lines from tongue twisters such as Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. That's alliteration for you once again, as the initial consonant sound P, is repeated. I know it's very tough and challenging, but at the same time it brings a lot of fun. Don't you agree? So students, from advertising slogans to warnings to tongue twisters and catchy names, alliteration is used everywhere. As simple as don't drink and drive. You must have heard this slogan as well. Here the sound of D is repeated. When we talk about repetition, which brings us to our last but not the least, the figure of speech, repetition. In alliteration, we repeat the sound, the consonant sound of the beginning letter. Here in repetition, we repeat a word or a phrase. It means it is a literary device that repeats the same words or phrase a few times to create rhythm and bring attention to an idea, means to make idea clearer and more memorable. Let's take an example of this wonderful poem by Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Here you can see that writer has repeated the words, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep, which not only brings rhythm, but also suggests the idea of a long journey ahead of him. I hope, students, that you have understood all the figures of speech, all 8. Today we learnt 8 figures of speech. Once again, simile, metaphor, personification, climax, pun, alliteration, interrogation and repetition. Hope you understood all the figures of speech, and this exercise would be easy for you to solve. Here are 8 examples of figure of speech. Let's see if you can solve them on your own. Have a good day.